Okay, let's get started. So, rewriting it, it's been a while since I touched JitHub, and it's based on UWP, and right now all the investments are in WinUI, and there are a couple new features coming in WinUI 1.6, so it's kind of exciting. I want to do a rewrite. So as you can see, I started a new project just so that I can start from scratch. The original app is quite big in terms of where everything is, so it's kind of, it's kind of all over the place. So starting from scratch, it's gonna be easier, I feel like. So yeah, let's do that. First thing first, one of the things I wanted to try is that currently JitHub uses a custom version of VS Code for displaying the code, which is fine, and VS Code is obviously very powerful, but VS Code is a web project, right? So I have to display that in Web V2, and well, if you know me, you know how I feel about web stuff in native apps. Well, I hate them, right? So naturally I just want to replace everything with native controls. I did that before with Markdown, so right now Markdown in JitHub is completely native. I wrote a new Markdown control in WinUI, and it was awesome, right? Awesome performance, awesome memory consumption. So gonna do the same for the code viewing part, but I'm not gonna be the one who writes the component. Someone already wrote it. I'm gonna be using their native component. Hopefully it's gonna be great. So I'm gonna be adding a new class library here. Let's call it GitHub control.editor. Let's save that, and we want to install a new component. It's called WinUI editor. And I think we have to include pre-release because it's pre-release. Yep, there we go. This one is for WinUI. Let's install that one. For some reason, installing dependencies has just become very slow for me in the latest version of Visual Studio. But thankfully, installing dependencies is not something that you do very often, so a perf hit in this case is fine. Okay, now that we have it installed, we can start adding it. So we don't need this one. I'll delete it. I'll add a new template control, which I haven't really used it before, so I'm learning as I go. Custom control in this case is what used to be called templated control in UWP. And let's name it WinUI, or let's just call it editor. Editor, or let's call it editor control. I mean, obviously it's a control. I just don't want let's just call it code viewer, yeah. Because we're not gonna enable editing for this, so what it is just a code viewer. But a namespace is editor. That's kind of confusing. Well, I guess in the future I could enable editing. So right now in this package I'll have a viewer, and in the future I might, we can have an editor. So this name is fine. I don't know why it always does this, like complaining that control is not a thing, but it's obviously a thing. Does that have anything to do with, did I mess up the project? Let's try to build it. Yeah, see, it kept saying it's not a thing. Control is a namespace, but it used like a type. It's totally my fault. Okay, so it's because I'm control is the namespace here. You know what? This is what I'm gonna do. Totally mess it up. We'll remove this project. Act like nothing ever happened. Going to my source code. And also delete this whole project as well. Is it opened? That's fine. Gonna close Visual Studio and yep, delete that folder. Reopen it. I'm gonna change the namespace. Sometimes you have to be careful when you name things. Can't always can't always name things however you like. It's gonna have conflicts with your keyboards. So let's try that again. New project. Class library. JitHub dot controls dot. Let's call it code. And it's gonna be controls about viewing code, if that makes sense. So let's delete that and do this whole thing again. Going to NuGet packages, browse, include pre-release, WinUI editor. Saw the one for WinUI editor. Right, you saw the one for WinUI 3. Hopefully that's quicker this time. Okay, that worked. Now I can add a new item. Come on, custom control. Now we can call it code viewer. All right, yeah. That'll make sense now. And in the theme, what we want, instead of a border, we want a grid. I think we need a name right now. And we need to start using it. So XML namespace. Let's call it editor equals to using WinUI editor. And right here we want editor, what's it called? Code editor control. Okay. And we'll give it a name. Let's call it editor. All right. Okay. So obviously here we want to save it. So that's a code editor control. Let's call it editor. And are we gonna have access to it here? I don't know. Let's hope we do. All right, let's hope we do. No. Get template child editor as that. All right, and to prove that this works, we can do this. And we don't need that reference to this. We can do editor dot set text to hello world. Okay. Just clean up the actual code here. I mean, hopefully that worked. Let's add a test project. Add new project. Okay. Blank app. Let's call it JitHub.client.code. This way, controls and clients are separate. Okay. I think that makes sense, right? Yeah, whatever. We can change the name later, so let's create. And in this one, all I'm going to do, oh, what's that? Fail to install the WinUI package. You can try install them manually. Say what? That's crazy. That's crazy. Okay. I'm gonna assume that's not a problem. Okay. Otherwise, it's gonna be too painful to deal with. Let's add a reference. Okay. And here we can say code viewer. Give me a suggestion. Come on, computer, run faster. Come on. Come on. Seriously? What's wrong with my computer today? It's really slow. What's happening? 28, 27% memory, 40%. That's okay. That's more than enough. Core widget provider. What's core widget provider doing? Okay, doesn't matter. Loading suggestions. I mean, I don't really need it. XML namespace. It's just really slow today. Code equals to using GitHub controls.code. Right, and then here we want to have code : code viewer. Okay. I think that's all we need. Let me turn on this. I think that's all we need. Let's try testing it out. Again, the UI just became very slow for some reason. Core widget provider. What is it doing really? Okay, I have no idea. Switch, please. Or yeah. Okay, let's try to build that. Says if, oh, okay. Let's go to the main window, and it's referencing something that doesn't exist anymore. Why is my Visual Studio so slow? I am sure I can handle a little streaming and coding at the same time, or at least my computer can. All other apps are pretty responsive at this point, so it's just the Visual Studio that's struggling for some reason. Okay. What's even happening? Is the build failed? Do I can I rerun the build? Is this instance, or is every other instance is this bad? If I open a converter, yeah, this instance is fine. It's just this instance. It's just grinding to a halt. Let me close this. Open again. Hopefully it's a little better this time. Still slow. That's weird. Okay, let's give it a go. Reference not set to an instance of an object. Okay, so editor here is null. That's okay. It's totally fine. Do this, and it seems like we have to do like an unload it or something, which is totally fine. How do I do unload it for a templated okay, just asking Copilot how I do an unloaded event. I probably can figure that out myself, to be honest. It's just Visual Studio is not exactly cooperating too well these days. Let's see. Okay. Copilot returned me this answer, so I'm gonna give it a try. So unload it, and I think we can move the logic here. And let's try that again. Please work. Oh yeah, that worked. Ooh, looking good. That totally worked. Nice. Nice. That totally worked. Okay, so this works. Let's see if we can set it to be read-only. How do we set it to be read-only? Settings, like set like editor, right? Dot read-only to be true. Okay, and then we can also say editor dot syntax, no, language. What do they call the language syntax highlighting language? Okay. Or is it here? Highlighting language is, yeah, what do they, is it just string? Okay, let's try C#. And then here we'll say var foo equals to, sorry, bar. Okay, see how that looks. That does not look good. Did we set the read only too early? Let's move that up. And I wonder if this will work. I don't think that did it. I don't think that worked. Let's recompile. Oh, okay. So that was the issue. So after I set it to read only, I can no longer set the value. It's good to know. Good to know. So now if I try to edit it, it's not going to work. But we get foo equals to bar, and we got syntax highlighting. That's pretty impressive. Okay, so I think what we can do is that we can start setting some variables. Okay, and what are those variables going to be? Let's see. The way we set variables is going to be something like this. Dependency property. Yep. Yep. Okay, so let's do this. Let's do a, will string work? Probably, right? String text. We'll do the dependency property first. Dependency property, let's call it text property equals to dependency property dot register, and we can give it name of text, and we can say it's a type of string on the type of code viewer, and new property metadata. It's gonna be first default value is default of string. That's true, right? And then for the onChange, we can say property change callback, and we can say it's on text changed. It's good enough. Let's close that, and right here for text, we can say for get. We'll just get the value of the property set. We'll just set the value set text to the value. That's good enough. Let's create the onChange event. So private static void on text changed, set dependency object dependency object and changed arg. Yeah, that's exactly what we need. And that looks weird. We need one more. Oh yeah, one more. Okay, so here we only want to reactive dependency object is a code editor control. No, not really. Is a code viewer and code viewer self. And what we want to do in this case is to briefly set self dot editor dot read only to be false, and then self dot editor dot set text to be dot new value as string. What is new value, by the way? It's gonna be object. Okay, that's fine. And set the read only back to true. Okay, I think that should work. Let's see. I think we can delete these lines. And then right over here, since we now have the text property, we can say text equals to var foo equals to bar. Actually, how do I do quotes in XAML? How do I use just asking Copilot what is the correct encoding for XAML, for quotes in XAML. Can't really do a normal Google search anymore now that Copilot can answer all my questions. So it's ampersand QUOT as okay, foo equals to bar ampersand QUOT semicolon. Hope that works. Let's give it a go. Let's give it a go. And nope, that didn't work. Okay. Editor is null because onText change is called, but unloaded has not been called yet. That's good to know. Good to know, good to know, good to know. Okay, so I think there are going to be multiple cases where, you know, when we update the text and the component is not yet rendered. So I think what we should do here is do an if statement. If self.editor does not equal to null, and if that's the case, we set it. Otherwise, we wait until the unloaded is called, right? And editor here couldn't possibly be null, but let's still guard rail against that. Right, still guard against that. And right here, what we can do is to still call up all of these, right? And here, instead of new value, we use text. All right, I think that should work. I think that should work. And it worked. Okay, I forgot to set the language, but that's okay, we can do that next. Let's add another property here, call that language, public string language, right? Forget, we'll get the language property set, we'll just set the language property, which does not exist yet. And here we'll say dependency property language property equals to dependency property dot register. We'll say name of language. It's going to be a type of string on the type of code viewer, of which I'm going to create a property metadata. Default is going to be default. And then callback, let's create a new callback. Let's call it on language changed. That should do the trick. And over here, we'll do pretty much the same thing. We'll say private static void on language changed. And we want a dependency object and a event arguments. Guard against the self, and if it's guard against if it's null. I don't think I need to set it to false. So in this case, I'll just do self.editor. Language, right? Nope. Editor. Highlighting language is that. And at some point, I think it's gonna benefit us to create a couple of helpers. So void set text, say it's string, and then if editor is not null, we do that, right? Okay, cool. It's not set text, set editor text. And same thing for language. So private void set editor language. Language. And come on. editor dot highlighting language equals language. There we go. Okay, in this case we call dot self dot select editor text. In this case is e dot new value as string. Good. And here we just call set editor text. Yes. All right, and here language, do the same thing. Set language. E dot. Oops, it needs to be self dot set editor language e dot new value as string. Over here is the same, but instead of using that, we use language. Okay, language is CSHARP. Let's run that again. And awesome. We can now dynamically set the text and language of our code editor or code viewer. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Can select, can do right click, can do select all, copy. It's nice. Can we get rid of the blinking cursor? Nope. Editor dot cursor equals to cursor shape dot arrow normal. Wait, that's cursor. I don't want cursor. What is it called? Carrot? Carrot? Carrot style? The current style of the current style of the carrot to be drawn. Okay. Let's set that to invisible. Okay. Ah, nice. So we can select, but we don't see the blinking carrot anymore. This looks much more like a code viewer. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. What is this saying? Highest inheritance member framework element language property uses the new keyword of hiding with. Wait, what? Language. There's a language for framework element language? Let's change it. Let's call it code language. All right. Let's call it code language. Here we can also call it code language. Language is language. But on load, what's the language, to be honest? Get source at the localization. Localization. Got it. So let's change it to code language. Anywhere else referencing code language or language? Okay, I don't think so. So here is code language. All right, okay, I think that worked. Actually, that's pretty awesome. We can stop worrying about having any parts of our code to be non-native. This is a pretty awesome control. Okay, let's get back to the app itself. I think I need some kind of architecture this time around. Last time I kind of coded the whole thing so that it's it's kind of a mess. Logic is everywhere. I think this time around I need a way to separate the data layer and the UI layer. And for data fetching, I was thinking I'll fetch the data in the background thread. It's probably too early to think about making the app multi-process, but at least I do that on a background thread. And then data fetching will be updating the data layer, and the UI layer should be subscribing to the data layer. That case, the UI will be a lot more responsive. And I kind of want to rethink what this app is, to be honest. It's the ultimate viewer and project management app, right? Because like you're not looking to have the full GitHub experience. If you're using this app, I'm assuming you're using it on, if you're using it on a tablet, then what you're looking for is a touch-friendly way to view your view pull requests and to view issues, and maybe viewing code as well. And if you're on desktop, I want this to be just a more productive way to manage your issues and your pull requests. So it's all about these two things, issues and pull requests. And it's all about productivity and enabling touch and having a beautiful user interface. So we don't necessarily want to spend more time on the homepage, if that makes sense. So before I spend a lot of time on building the homepage, which displays the activities, but people don't really, at least I don't look at activities. I feel like people care about notifications for one, so maybe build a new interface for notifications, and people care about pull requests, people care about issues, and people care about project management, and also make it easier to search and browse repos as well. So let's start with that data fetching layer. So before, what we had in services is that we had multiple services, right? Things that handles authentication, account. We still need those, so those can be just migrated without any problem. But one thing that we had is a GitHub service that just handles all the GitHub API calls, which is okay, I guess. But now I kind of want to switch to the new GraphQL version of the GitHub service. So none of these is super duper useful anymore. Yeah, I did invest a lot in this code base. Okay, let's search for where we're using this base URL. I kind of forgot. Should use this provider. Okay, I see. So let's take a look at this. So GitHub. GitHub has a library for .NET called is it called Octopus? No, OctoKit. OctoKit, and for OctoKit they have OctoKit.net. But yeah, they also have OctoKit GraphQL.net. I think that's the one we want. .NET's updated 10 hours ago. GraphQL.net is updated more than a month ago. Okay, we'll open both. We'll see which one is more invested in. AutoKit GraphQL.net, GitHub GraphQL client library for .NET, and right now it is in beta. Code coverage is 79%. This software is currently beta. Here are a few things left. There are a few things left, and there might be bugs. Be warned. Consider me warned. So AutoKit GraphQL gives you access to the GitHub GraphQL API from .NET. It exposes the GitHub GraphQL API as a strongly typed link-like API, aims to follow the GraphQL query syntax as closely as possible, which, given the benefit of strong typing in your favorite .NET language, that's exactly what I wanted. So this is how we use it. Product information, in this case, I'll just say this is, GitHub product version v3. Connection, we build a new connection, product information, and auth token, which, there needs to be a way to get the token, which is okay. And then we start building the queries. Queries. We get the repository owner and grab the repository. So that's how you would grab a repository in the past, right? Like the owner / name, and then select things out of the repo. And over here, I think it's gonna be like another query. Yeah, they're using the new syntax, so I don't exactly know the type here. But anyways, seems like you get a repo, right? You get a repo, and then you grab the ID, name, owners, login is fork is private, and then you say compile. That compiles the query, and vars is dictionary. Oh yeah, so that's how you pass in the variables that the query needs. Okay, that makes sense. Hi, Dom. Yeah, so I'm writing it in C#. Same as before, to be honest. Before it was C#, XAML, WinUI 2, and that was UWP. And right now, all of the investments in this platform is through WinApp SDK. So I'm rewriting it to target WinApp SDK and also target WinUI 3. And also just doing some rethinking on parts of the app where it makes sense, where it didn't make sense. Yeah, so, okay, let's continue. Okay, so in this case, I can build a query and should be able to reuse the query in multiple places, and depends on the input, right? I can change the variables pretty easily. So owner is the owner here, name is the name. Yeah, that makes sense. So we get the result by running this query and the variable on the connection, and the result will just pretty much be the type that you asked for, right? So the result is the query will give you back a type, I guess, and then you get these things. That's pretty interesting. Okay, I think what I'll do is that I'll set up something for testing. So in this case, I'll create a, what should we call it? Services, new project. In this case, it won't necessarily be WinUI. We can just use our project types. It's gonna be a class library. Class library, I think it could just be C#.NET Standard. And next, we'll call it JitHub dot services dot GitHub service. And I think that should cover it. Target .NET 8 makes sense. Long-term support. Let's create that. All right. Okay. Let's delete this one. And do I have any advice on naming classes, methods, and variables? Well, I think I am pretty bad at naming things, to be honest. One advice I get pretty often from my teammates who are much better at naming things than me is that if you are naming a boolean, make your variable name look like a boolean. So it's normally is something, or does something, or something enabled, something disabled. And if you're making a function, make the name sound like a verb. And if it's an event, make it sound like a past tense verb. So yeah, that's kind of the feedback that I get pretty often from my teammates. Okay, so right here, I think what we want is a class or interface. Let's do a class first. We can make it a interface a little later. So class, let's call it GitHub service. GitHub service.GitHub service. It's not exactly a good option, right? The way it's gonna work is that it's gonna be like a GitHub service.services.GitHub service.GitHub service. Oh man, it's repeating. So the namespace, it's gonna be services. This one, what if we don't make it GitHub service specific? What if we make it to be everything? Oh, I know. I hate when this happens. Can I rename it? I hope this doesn't mess it up. So it's already GitHub.services, so I don't need service at the end of the word GitHub. So I can just call it services.GitHub. And hopefully that changes all the all the project files. So in this case, I can add a class here and call it GitHub service, and should sound a little better. GitHub service, and this is gonna be like an experiment anyway. So this is gonna be a public sealed class, and okay, what I'm gonna do in this case is have a method. You know what? Gonna install a NuGet package first. And in this case, we want the one from here. It's called AutoKit.GraphQL. AutoKit GraphQL. Not this window. Okay, search. And wow, there's already 5 million downloads. Amazing. Okay, download it. Did that work? It's really slow. It's really slow. Yeah, I don't know why like installing NuGet packages is so slow nowadays. Anyways, let's apply. And I think that worked. Okay, so here let's try to define a function or a method. Public. Let's do void for now. Async void get repo. It takes a owner and a name, and we can just pretty much follow the thing here, right? Oh wow, that messed up the indentation so bad. Okay, I think that's it. What's var here? Generate method var. It's gotta be something, right? Oh, using static variable. That gives it a var. Okay. So I need a token, which I can't really do on screen. Hey, thanks for watching, Don. Yeah, thank you for interacting with me in my stream. You have a nice one. I guess I can set up an environment variable here, because I don't want to expose my token, but I also need to kind of, yeah. Okay, so let's do this. Public GitHub service. This is temporary, by the way. What the hell? Token, and then we can store the token. Private string token, and then we can store the token here. Token equals token, and then we'll use that token. And then wherever we are calling this, we'll just read from an environmental variable, and we'll set a token there. Okay, so in this case, we'll get a result, right? Result is that a temporary? Is that a temporary? Was that a temporary type? Because I bet they're using CodeGen to achieve this. Analyzers. Let's see. Code analyze. Oh no. Okay. Let's go to the type. Can we go to the type? Okay. Compile. I ID. Can we go to A? No. Come on. I think it's a temporary type, but I can't really click into it. I think what they're doing in this case is that since I am writing a query here, it is doing a source generation based on what I'm selecting. So it's generating a type with all the names from these. Can't really get to it though. Yeah, this is weird. I don't know how they achieved this. But we'll get an ID and we'll get a name. Owner's login. Do I get to name these variables? Can I say what name I want? Sponsoring user equals to, oh, it uses an equal sign to grab that. Okay, I think that works. So in this case, say I want it to be called owner. You can do this. Ooh, interesting. So now it changed from login to owner. That's awesome. Okay. How do I play around with this safely? I need a token, and this token needs to be I'm thinking it needs to be a GraphQL token, right? How do I get a GraphQL token? Personal access token needs the scope of read user. Okay. Okay, let me go grab a token and save it somewhere. Save it somewhere that I can read. Hopefully I'm not doing this on stream. I am not, right? Yeah, gotta do this safe. So personal access token, doing this off screen. Okay, gonna do 2FA on my phone, so I hopefully the webcam doesn't catch a reflection off of my retina and someone get to it first. Test token expire in 7 days, please. Description: testing octokit dot GraphQL. You can't see what I'm doing, but I'm just creating a token on GitHub.com. Doesn't seem like I need to give it any permissions. So let's generate the token. Okay. And I'm going to set an environmental variable. Let's call it GitHub token, and the value is this. Save, close, close. Gotta be careful. Okay. Don't want to leak anything on stream. All right. Now all we need to do is to add a test project. In this case, we'll add a new project. Let's call it, let's do a console app, and let's call it github.clients.github service test. I think that's a good name. I think so. Okay. Do not use top level statements. Yeah, I don't think I want to use that. Enable AOT publish. Doesn't really matter to me, to be honest. Okay, create. And we'll need to add a project reference to services, GitHub, and click OK. And right here, we just want to read an environmental variable. How do I do that? Let me ask Copilot. In .NET console project, how do I read okay, environmental variable. There we go. I don't know anything, you know. I just I ask Copilot for everything nowadays. Is this the end of programming? I don't know, but it sure is efficient. It's not as efficient as, you know, if you already know the thing, but it's very efficient, at least for me, for my use case. Okay, so it's just environment.get environment variable. Okay, I'm dumb. That's very easy. So it's var token is environment.get environment variable, and it's gonna be GitHub token. Oh, I hope it doesn't print that on screen. Please don't. Var GitHub service is new GitHub service, and we'll give it the token. And please work. Okay, in this case, we probably want to return something. So what is this? How do I return this thing? Async, we want to return a task of like this. Is that a oh man, is that a thing? Result. What is result? man. Let's just say we want to return a struct. In this case, we'll figure out how to return it later, but we'll say it's a struct, and we'll say it's a repo, right? And in which case we want it to have ID, name, sure, owner, sorry, string, this is owner, and we also have 2 booleans. So did they just delete the closing parentheses? Okay. Boolean is fork. Okay. Boolean is private. All right. Okay, I think. God. Okay, that works. We say we want to return a task of repo, right? And this is gonna be a public struct. And at the end, we say return new ID equals to result.id. Is that how it works? Cannot convert ID to string. GraphQL.id. That's okay. We can change that to ID, I guess. Okay, that worked. Name is name. Owner is result.owner. Is fork is fork. Is private is private. Yeah, until we figure out a better way to do return statements, I guess this is what we're gonna do. It's just so weird. What is this single quote A thing here? Okay, anyways, so in that case, we want to receive a repo. So our repo is await GitHub service dot get repo, and yeah, I gotta be careful. So right here, I'm passing in owner, and I guess over here, I'll just grab that owner and grab the name of the repo as well. Just do it this way. And over here, I will just pass in the owner and the name of the repo this way. Oh God, I really hope it works. Please work. Please work. Okay, I guess the only thing left is to run it. Switch this to client. Do I not have clients.code, clients.code unpackaged? Do I not have to? The console app needs to be runnable. How do I make it? Oh, you know what? We can edit this. Start a project. Is this not recognized as a project? This is so weird. set as startup project. Yeah, I guess let's try that. Ooh, errors. Debug profile does not exist. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? A void or int return. Wait, what? You're saying what are you saying? Oh, main function cannot be async. That's okay. We'll just do that. And then what do I do here? Is that dot wait? Okay. Is that how you wait? Oh, wait. Wait for the task to complete. Cannot assign void to implicitly typed variable. Okay, how do I wait for a task then? Okay, new topic. In C#, if I cannot make a method async, how do I wait for an async operation? Just tasking Copilot to tell me everything. Tell me everything. Hey, slow down. Oh, okay. So task run. That's interesting. Let me try that. So task. Wait. We actually get the results. Nice. Task run. Await that. No, it's actually async lambda await. And then here we get the result. And nice. Console write line. How did they write the thing again? So AutoKit, let's just grab this console write line here. And repo.login, repo.name. Does not have login. Oh, it's owner. Okay. Let's hope that works. And that did not work. Okay, one or more errors occurred. Token. That's exactly what I feared. I have to take the screen off stream to debug this. Oh, I hate when that happens. GitHub token. how is it that I'm not able to read GitHub token? This is stressful. Let's ask Copilot. How do I set an environment variable in Windows so that I can .NET console can read it? Question mark. How do I get an environmental in PowerShell? I want to test that I did set something. Okay, let me try that. Does it seem like I said anything? Chart item. Do I need to restart my machine to get the token? It's a little frustrating. You know what? I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna trust my instinct, and I'll test it off screen if it works. If it works, I'll just delete it and continue coding as if it just, as if it just kept working. All right. Make sure I'm not on stream. So here goes for nothing. Let's test it. And it worked. Look at that. Hello world. And then OctaKit and OctaKit GraphQL.NET rocks. Let me delete my token. Actually, let me just comment out everything. Okay, now I can put things back on stream. So that worked. I'll just assume that continues to work. And just to be safe, I deleted the token that I created, so no temptations. All right, I'll assume that works, and I'll continue working. So that was awesome. I really like how we can just do GraphQL calls to grab informations. So here, I think I'm gonna need to hard code it for now. So this GitHub version is v3. Oh, spoilers. Yeah, we're calling this version of GitHub v3. Deal with it. All right. I think the next thing I need to figure out is either the data layer. So right now I'm able to grab the information from the service layer, and service layer later on I'm gonna initialize some in a background thread. But for the data layer, I'm thinking I need to store all of the data locally so that when I fetch for them, even though without internet, I'm able to display something. But that could be a good idea or a bad idea, because if the user really doesn't have internet, do we want to display anything? I don't think we do, right? So maybe we use a in-memory data layer so that, you know, when users are just navigating around, things seem faster. Right? Because for information like repo, how often does the repo name change? So if you're navigating, you kind of want to avoid grabbing the repo name multiple times, you know, things like that. In-memory data layer, in-memory data layer. In-memory data layer. I think for in-memory data layer, what we could do is make it so that it is per request. So if I made a request on the client side and I get a hit, I can say that I'll just return that, and then in the background I can make the request anyway, and then the request will just refresh my data layer, and then my data layer can send a signal to the UI, telling the UI to actually refresh. That could work. That could work. For that to work, I need a way to represent the uniqueness of each request. And normally with a REST request, you'd be able to do that with the URL. But since we're using an SDK and we're calling a GraphQL query, yeah, I think it's a little hard. Let's see if we're able to grab anything. So we have a query here. It's a compiled query. And I think combining the query and the variables, we have a pretty good shape for the request. We just need a way to make it so that this is a good key for the cache. And yeah, and that's the thing. If we build this data cache layer, it needs to be so that the whole app is reacting to the cache change. So that means I'm not actually building a cache layer, I'm building the view model, but the view model is basically singleton. You know what I mean? But the view model cannot be singleton because most of the things will be loaded in and out. So yeah, it cannot be a view model. It needs to be a data layer that has a way to subscribe for the view model to subscribe to. So yeah, data layer. I'm thinking the data layer can still be in the background thread. Actually, it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't run. It doesn't run on. It doesn't have long running things. It doesn't need to be a background thread. Okay. Anyways, let's see here. So run returns a task. But let's see if there's any way to grab the query. Grab the request. Run. Connection is a connection, and for a connection, what can we get? Let's see, for the connection object, we can get run equals run toString. No, URI, get the base URI for the connection. Not good. Not good. How about we just use this? It's a little unstable. But if we do, so for the query, if we do a toString and do a toString for variables and just kind of combine them, would that work as a key? No, the key doesn't work because, okay, we need to think about this. So for the request, I think we need to define the key because we're subscribing to the data layer from the UI. So the UI layer needs to know about the cache key. Actually, does it really? All it needs to do is to subscribe to something so that, okay, so we don't directly call this, we don't directly call the service layer from the UI layer. So from the UI layer, we make the data reacting from the UI layer. We make the data react. We make the UI react to the data layer by subscribing to the data layer with a key. And we also use the same key for doing requests, right? So every time we enter the UI, if it's a GET request, we do that on the subscription event, and the subscription event will fire and it will trigger the GitHub service to do the fetch request. And then upon receiving those, we then return those to the data layer, and then the data layer will update the cache and do a cache invalidation if it's different, right? Only when it is different. And if it's different, the invalidation will be calling the subscriber, which is the UI, and the UI will deal with it. If it's a post request, then what do we do in those cases? Let's not worry too much about that, and let's see if we can get something working today. Okay, let's try something. What are we going to try? Okay, let's search if there's any good in-memory cache libraries. Is there any good in-memory cache in .NET? I need a way to subscribe to cache changes. Cache invalidation. Okay, let's see if there's any existing libraries that we can use. That is a long answer. I bet I can just make, in-memory cache. What is that? In .NET, a widely used in-memory cache library is Microsoft Extension's caching memory, which is part of the ASP.NET Core. I'm not using ASP.NET Core though. It provides a way to store objects in memory and also offers features like cache invalidation, which has expiration tokens and callbacks. Okay. Let me explain to you. I'm not building a web app so that I need that works. I need a .NET standard. I actually don't need it to be .NET standard. works in WinUI 3. Let's just say that and see what it comes up with. I mean, we can always build one, to be honest. It's not exactly hard to build, right? We just make a class that has a key value pair, and for each key we can have subscription events that basically passes in a callback or a delegate, and we we also need to have expiration so that we can invalidate the cache on certain events, right? So if it's about to expire, we make another request just to refresh it. You know what? It could be a good practice to build such a thing, right? For WinUI 3 application, you can still use the memory extension cache memory package for in-memory caching. It's not limited to web applications. It could be used in desktop applications as well. However, if you're looking for a caching solution that is more tailored for the MVVM pattern and manage your data through view models, which can persist data across navigations and provide notifications for data change. Yeah, so MVVM, is that a good idea? I think eventually what I'm looking for is MVVM, but I think I need a good base class, if that makes sense, right? So view model base class will be I make some kind of request, and it caches it. I'm not sure if I need to tunnel all of those requests through the same data layer. Yeah, I'm thinking if I need to do that. So if I just make it so that it's a feature of a view model, then it'll still make sense. So the view model would be in charge of its own requests. No, that doesn't make sense. Not all view models will have that needs. Yeah, let's just, I want to see if I can use this library. So in memory cache, cache is cache, and cache entry options, set size. What is cache size? Sliding expiration from seconds, absolute expiration. Oh, okay. That's probably too much terminologies for me to get into right now. So let me build a data layer from scratch. Add new project. I'll just say this is a class library, and we'll call it jithub.data. What should I call you? What should I call this library? In memory cache. It's a little too long. But that's okay. I think it's a good name for it. No, it's not a good name. Let's call it data.caching. and then we can have a class here called in memory cache. Okay, say public sealed class. So what we want in this case is I think we want a cache object. So here is a dictionary of string and object. We can call it cache. And we can initialize it right here. Actually, we can build a cacheable object name, object class here called cache object. We can give it a type T. So here can have the value cache object I think we want to set an expiration type so that it just keeps refreshing. There are types that just keeps refreshing. And the types that don't, right? Yeah, I can't really think of a way. Actually, we can just say is refresh period. Refresh period. Yeah, let's just call refresh period. We can call that time span. Refresh period. And we also need to delegate here, right? I need to look at how to use delegate. How do I use delegate? Okay. So the delegate can be a callback. Yeah. Something like this. So my delegate, can I declare this in the class? So like in this case, I would just say as a delegate, let's call it on cache invalidation, and we give it the type T back, basically. Does that work? Okay, and then we can say caches that. I need to give it a type. Can we just say object here? Yeah, I don't want to make it sounds too okay, let's try something first. So public as we're from the UI thread, and we want to void register subscribe, and we have a request URL and subscribe is gonna have a type T, and then here we'll take a cache object of the type T. Let's call it request object, and then what's gonna happen here is that we're gonna do cache dot add request URL and request object. Cannot convert T to object. Yeah, how do we solve that? Okay, let's be unsafe here just for a moment, and let's just assume that, you know, it's an object here and we do everything correctly, right? And unsubscribe, we'll do this void unsubscribe. We'll do this, and if there's a and for the refresh period, we need to set some kind of an alarm for us to refresh it. So here, let's ask Copilot in C# how do I set a time interval in the background thread so that every X seconds I get a callback. Okay, does it have to be static? Okay, all right, sounds good. So essentially we want a timer, and the second, seems like the second argument is gonna be the data that we pass in. All right. So every time we subscribe, we do this. If request object dot and oh, it's never null. Okay. total nanoseconds isn't 0. We'll have a timer here. Timer dictionary timers, no timers, a new timer, and then we do a callback, right? Callback is gonna be a private method here. It's called refresh cache. So for now, I don't really know what to do with it. So let's say that's the callback, and we want the argument to be request URL, and we want the due time we probably want that to be 0, and then period is the time interval between you know what, let's use that for both of it. Milliseconds, right? Okay, so let's do this dot total milliseconds and total milliseconds. Cannot convert from double to int. So total milliseconds is a double, and that's okay. We'll just do int dot try parse try parse out interval. How do I use try parse? Like this? Okay. Cannot. Do you only take bytes? Actually, double dot to Jesus. All right. Time to ask Copilot. In C#, how do I convert a to int? Like, that is something like floor. Oh, is it that easy? math.round. Okay. Truncated decimal, right? That works. That works. So wait for this long to trigger and trigger it every this long. Okay. Cannot convert from method group to callback. Yeah, how do I, is it like this dot? Nope. My callback with state. Yeah, I don't think that's working. Isn't it just a delegate that returns void? Takes some kind of, do I have to take object? Oh, that worked? Okay. Possibly because non-ability attributes. Doesn't match the, wait, what? This is a string, and I'm saying that it takes an object. Are you serious? So I have to take an object, but can I do this? Nope, not a thing. Not a thing. Okay, so I can take an object here and here I can say request URL string is request URL to string. And here I just cast it as an object, which I don't have to, but it's still complaining. Not ability attributes. This is annoying. So when we unsubscribe, let's see if timers dot, if it contains that, grab the timer, dispose it. Yeah, then we do that. Okay. If cache dot contain key. If it contains the key, then that's what we're expecting. But if it doesn't contain the key, we should also unsubscribe the timer. So we'll grab the cache, and we'll make the request. Oh, we're ignoring the part where we make the request. Okay. This is the part that needs weak bindings. I think both the UI and the service needs to agree on what the URLs is gonna be. So here will be make the request to the service layer, update cache, invalidate cache by calling the registered callback. Oh, by the way, this should be 0. Essentially, we should call it right away. Cache by calling the registered callback. That's it, right? Refresh. Yep. Might need to use the UI threads dispatch queue to call it. Yeah, this happens sometimes when you're calling things from a background thread. It can't necessarily reach the UI thread. So we need to get the dispatch queue. Okay. In-memory cache. So I think for in-memory cache, we can have it as a singleton. We'll register it as a singleton in the app, so we don't have to do it here. And we'll subscribe it from the UI, and we'll unsubscribe when the UI gets unloaded, and the caches will be refreshed every once in a while. And for GET requests, they will get triggered right away, but for post requests, we'll think about that when the time comes. So I think this is a pretty good progress right now. We can't really fill out the rest. Can't really fill out the rest just now because yeah, we still need to write out some we still need to write out the service layer a little bit more, and then we need to get started on the UI just a little bit so that we know what we're doing, and we'll be able to test out if the whole data layer service layer thing is working. But so far I think this is pretty good progress. Yeah, this is pretty good progress. I think that's it for today's stream. Thank you for watching. I will try to do this more regularly, and hopefully I don't screw up my app and we'll be able to use a version that's based on WASDK and has all the awesome features that I planned. Yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.